this is a beautiful book. We've done a great job, but who cares? And he looked at me and he went, what do you mean, who cares? And I said, how are we going to make this something that stands out amid all the other people that thought that they should write a memoir? Because he's not famous.
What are some common mistakes you see new writers make that once they're at a professional level, you don't see as much?
So professional level is an interesting term, because what would that be? I mean, I say to my clients, the minute you've made a decision to write a book, you are now a professional author, and you need to think that way. And if you have to take a Post-it and you have to put it on your desk that says, I am a professional author, or I am an author, you need to do that. You need to put it everywhere in your house until you actually believe that you are of the same quality as anybody else. There's no like distinction between you and the person who's super famous or is a New York Times bestseller. You have to own that within you first. And I think once they step to that, then it's really just, it's time to work on the craft. And there's certain writers that take to the art of writing like a duck to water. They will take direction really quickly. They'll, they're not afraid of us doing a first draft and then me saying, okay, let's rip it apart because the middle of the book should be where we start the book, and this chapter should mix with this chapter, and I think we might need a different ending, because that's what happens when you do the first draft. The second draft is really where the magic happens. There are some people that are not afraid of that. They're like, let's do it. And there's other people that are like, oh my God, what does that mean? Like, I just did this for like 12 weeks. Now we're gonna rip it apart. What is that? And there's a lot more fear of the process, right? Which is understandable, because they just did a process that they were not comfortable with. They were like, oh, phew, I just got through that. And now there's another process. But inevitably, everybody at the end of the second draft sees the light at the end of the tunnel, no matter where they were in the first draft. They're all like, this is good. Some are more like, a little bit like we're onto something, and other people are like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, this is magic. Like, magic has happened. So I think by the end of the second draft, they all kind of feel like professional writers. Some of them might hang on a little bit to, they might start to, as it gets closer to like going out and looking for a publisher, well, do you think my writing's good? Like, are you sure it's up to standard? Do you think my writing's good enough? And it's just assurance. It's like, it's not that you're right. It's not whether your writing's right or wrong. It's, are you communicating in a clear, entertaining, and effective way, something that's going to inspire the reader and drive them to take some kind of action in their life, right? Like, maybe you're espousing some kind of new philosophy. Have you done a good enough job having them actually sit up and go, I never thought about that. I'm going to change the way I do that in my life, which is what a lot of great books will do.
Why would someone be afraid to go through the first draft? Whereas others are like, yeah, let's do it. Rip it apart. Like, tell me the truth.
I think just that there's a banality, even there's like a conflict, right? So on one hand, they've been told for years by everybody under the sun, you should write a book. And so they believe, and then there's underneath a little part of them that believes that, right? But they're coming in a little bit driven on external forces, right? So they'll come in and they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. Kind of because everybody else said I should do it. And I kind of believe I should do it. So I'm going to write this thing, but there's in the back of their mind still that like self-defeating mindset that's like, and it's often can be a voice that says, who cares? Does this really matter? Like, you're spending all this time and energy, like putting this out. Because what? The valet said you should write a story? Because your Aunt Mary said you should write a story? I don't know. This seems like a lot of time and a lot of money. You're spending a lot of time with that Kim lady. How do you even know she's qualified? Like, what even are her credentials? And I joke about this sometimes when I do talks about what that voice will do to try to keep you safe, right? Because you've been safe. You've gotten so far. Your ego's like, we're cool, we're good. And now all of a sudden you're like, but I actually want to tell them. The ego's like, no, wait a minute. We've been good without you telling all these stories. Why do you want to upset the apple cart now? So that's more what I see coming into play. And it comes in all different ways. It comes in tears. It comes in argumentativeness. It comes in, I see it all. I have a lot of very strong-willed personality clients, and I see it come out in all different ways.
What about a third draft?
Oh, the third draft is just heaven, because we've ripped it apart, we've put it back together, we know exactly what the book is, and now we get to do like a lot of bells and whistles. So maybe we didn't find a system in the book that we knew would have to be there. I use my client Alan Maxwell a lot for this example. He had written a memoir about his life from Philadelphia to becoming a top defense contractor in San Diego and the Navy in between. And we were done with the third draft, and I said, we've done a beautiful book. We've done a beautiful job. This is someone who knew nothing about writing and dictated most of his book. And we had to do a lot of fixing on it, but got it done in the airport on a busy schedule. And I said, this is a beautiful book. We've done a great job, but who cares? And he looked at me and he went, what do you mean, who cares? And I said, how are we going to make this something that stands out amid all the other people that thought that they should write a memoir? Because he's not famous. And I said, every time you write something, you talk about a system that you've been in, whether it's various parts of the Navy or parts of society in Georgia or the government. And I said, you've got some rules that you've applied in your life to get through those situations that you've then carried into new situations. How many do you think you might have of those rules? He said, I don't know. Let me go figure it out. So we came up with 15 rules. We then went back through the book on a fourth draft, found all the places the rules would apply, and put them into the book. And he became a Wall Street Journal top 10 business book.
So it went from, great, this is your life, very interesting, but who are you and why should we be dialed in, to then you tapped into that, a lot of rules, structures, things in place. Interesting.
Yeah, and we made it something that was for anybody. Like, we had a 17-year-old girl read it, and she was just blown away. Yeah, she was like, I would take this as my book that I would bring out into the world and use. Because if you think about it, anytime we step into anywhere, if you have these tips that he gives and you understand these rules apply and you're savvy with them, you can figure out who your allies are, who your enemies are. You can figure out, you can keep your eyes open and attuned to certain situations, see the red flags. You're going to do pretty well.
Interesting. So was it too vanilla before, or it was still interesting, but he wasn't giving the reader anything?
Exactly.
Okay. And so is that something that, because we all think our lives are fascinating and, okay, they won't make a movie about me, but maybe if I write my book, they'll read it.
Right.
But is that what sometimes we're missing, is what are we offering the reader?
What are we offering the reader? And he actually has some discrete chapters that are standalone movies without a doubt. I mean, he has, USS destroyers getting sunk. I mean, he has very exciting moments, but that wasn't enough, right? It's great to read that. That adds to his credibility with his knowledge that he's sharing. But standalone, it wasn't 100% enough. When people come to me to write memoirs, I do say, what do you think are your core areas that you have the golden thread or the line of something your whole life you've kind of not paid attention to? So it might be money messaging from childhood, and then money chaos, money chaos, money chaos, money chaos, till finally they change something, and now they might not still be great with money, but they're free, right? And then all the scenes support that through line. Someone could read that and see their money stories and see their pattern. And so it's like they are able to have some kind of epiphany or recovery or learning curve through being entertained in that narrative.